Hey, I just want to thank everybody for coming back to Sarita Talks. It's been a minute because I've really been trying to get some of the most excellent guests who have the most powerful stories. And this is Coach Puff Positive, Brandon Puffer. So you've got a story. You have got a story, but it starts off. First, you were born, but we're going to skip ahead. You were a Major League Baseball player.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Yes, I was
Yeah.
born, and then I had a childhood and all that good stuff. And then
Yeah.
yes, I was just my dream as a young boy, a young man, was always just be a Major League Baseball player. And I kind of thought if I ever got to achieve that dream, my life would be so complete and full. And fortunately, I did. And then realized that joy and peace and fulfillment doesn't necessarily come from those kind of achievements.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's so crazy that you have to get there to figure that out. Would you
Right,
agree?
I
So tell
do.
us about some of the teams you played on.
Sure. Yeah, I was fortunate enough in terms of like making it to the big leagues, the major leagues. I played for the Houston Astros and I played
Yeah.
for the San Diego Padres and San Francisco Giants and the Boston
Yeah.
Red Sox. And then through the minor league systems, just several other affiliate systems, but just kind of didn't make it all the way up. But got to play in the minor league systems with them.
That's nice. That's very
Yeah.
nice. Now let me ask you, over what kind of time frame did this were you playing professional baseball?
Baseball. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, I did want to be a professional basketball player. I just capped out in high school, but
Okay. Well, good. I was halfway there.
you were there. But no, so I graduated high school in 1994 and was drafted out of high school, went straight to rookie
Nice.
ball, and then ended up my career ended in 2008. So 1994 to 2008.
Now what happened in 2008?
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah.
big part of my story. So I
Mhm.
2008, I was playing ball. I kind of full circle moment. I had, like you said, made it to the major leagues. I was back in Frisco, Texas, a Double A affiliate for the Rangers. For those who have
Okay.
seen Bull Durham, I was kind of Crash Davis. I was the old guy who had made it, and I'm going to mentor these young like prospects, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
so one night, there's a lot that kind of leads up to it, but literally one night, I had a lot of addiction issues, a lot of just struggles in my life with those types of things. And I just kind of compromised one night and decided I would go out with the boys, knowing I didn't handle that very well. No
Mm,
judgment to people who can go socially drink. That's great for them. But I just didn't have a
yeah.
switch. And Serena, and I had actually learned this previously, but I said, you know what? It's the end of the season. We're celebrating a championship. What's one more
Yeah.
time with the boys, right? And so that was September 13th, I believe, of 2008. My career's going well. I'm leading into being a professional pitching coach and all these
Yeah.
things. September 14th, I woke up in jail. I had committed a crime the night in my blackout that was pretty serious. And at first I didn't know. It was just kind of like my first experience with that. I'd never been in trouble. And
Yeah.
then I come to find out, moving forward, just how serious this was, and this would be a watershed, life-changing moment in my life for sure.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
if you don't mind telling us what happened. I mean, you were blackout, which
Yeah.
let me tell you, you mentioned, yeah, people can go out and socially drink, but other people, that one drink never stops. And I
Right.
remember that a lot of times when people are in rehab, they're like, one is too many and a million is never enough. So some people, and they, they talk about heredity and genetics and all of that. So you're just drinking and then you wake up in jail. But in the meantime,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'll go into detail on that. And you're so right.
yeah,
Hereditary for me. My dad went through it. Same thing. So I knew better. And that was the thing, right? Like you
right.
have to experience to really learn. But at this point in my life, I knew that this was a
Yeah.
problem for me. And so all the it's all on me. I don't want to use the blackout or the drinking as an excuse. I knew this was a bad decision, and I chose to
Yeah.
go out and drink with the boys. And what happened was, and I think this really kind of leads back to some of my decision making, not only around alcohol, but also around promiscuity and some things. I was sexually abused as a child, and I'm always open about that because I like to give a voice to people who have been through that. And
Amen.
again, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Amen. I'm glad someone stands up for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what's crazy, Sheree, and I'm about to get into what happened that night, is
Yeah.
when I went and I got arrested and I went to prison, I was like, okay, now is the time to figure out what the heck's wrong with you. You're obviously broken. You've been through stuff. Something's wrong with you that gets you here. And I always just thought, I just have a drinking problem, or I did some pale drugs, whatever. And I realized, that sexual abuse carried through my life. Promiscuity was a big problem for me. Just that whole side of things was a problem for me. And I'm tying this together because sure enough, that night I went out. I had all those drinks. I went back to an apartment complex with a pitching coach and a clubhouse manager of mine who'd seen me out that night and said, "Ooh, you're a little out of character. Like, we haven't really seen this side of you. Let's bring you home. Let's just kind of go call it a night." Right. And to form A Million Was Never Enough, about 2-3 in the morning, I was telling them, "Hey guys, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go find a party. I want to go have more fun." And come on, Puff, it's time to go to bed. It's not time for that. And I just was out on my own. Another side note to this is I had pitched and taken Adderall that night. And so my off switch was it wasn't there. And,
no, not at all.
It wasn't there. And so the previous year, just to paint this picture for you, I lived in the same apartment complex they lived in. And there was a young lady, 25, 26. We had babysat her daughter. I mean, just almost like a family friend. I'd only met her 1 or 2 times. We had no relationship or anything like that. And in this state of mind, something inside of me, the broken part of me, said, "I'm going to go over there and see what she's doing." 2-3 in the morning. Yeah. So stupid. But when you've lived that way and that's been your life, it's like, yeah, this is a great idea. Knocked on the door. Nobody answered. I opened the door. It was unlocked. And that was the worst thing that I ever could have done and could have happened. Walked in and tried to get in bed with her. And the hardest part about sharing the story, it's obviously embarrassing, shameful, brutal, is the fact that I just really affected this young single mom and her daughter's sense of security. And I have daughters. I'm married. It's just like every time I say it, it's like, what were you thinking? So she, obviously was afraid, screamed. I ran out. Nothing happened. Thank God I ran out. Was like, what the heck? Next, I'm arrested in the parking lot. And that's the first, the scream and kind of the officers surrounding was the first time I was like, okay,
woke up.
Sobering up a little bit. What the heck's going on? But then even then, I guess not, because when I woke up in jail the next morning wearing orange by other inmates, my friend was there to bail me out. And I said, "What happened? What's going on?" He said, "Man, you called me last night. I hoped you were joking, but here you are." And so sure enough, that's what had happened. I finished the season. We had about 2 more days. I didn't tell anybody. I was hoping to sweep it under the rug. And as a lot of us know, what happens in the dark gets illuminated.
Comes to light. Yeah.
That would start happening for me over the next kind of several weeks and months to come.
Well, let me tell you, Brandon, it's like light bulb and alarms and sirens. 2008 is when I ended up going to prison.
Wow.
And I went to prison for 14 and a half years because, like I tell people all the time, I was a victim. And then in a moment, I became a victimizer. But what really touched was you knew that there was a problem and you were doing your best to stay away. I knew there was a problem with this man, but I just kept coming back. Yeah. And I really, in your story, it just touched me because in a moment, your life can change.
Yes.
In a moment, one mistake, one time coming back, one time, I'm going to go out drinking with the boys. We're going to celebrate. And your life is forever changed.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're able to turn that negative into a positive. Coach Puff, positive. Yeah. And even wrote a book. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I have it right here. I always have it handy, as you know.
Yes, absolutely.
I ended up writing, it's called From the Bullpen to the State Pen. And it really just kind of covers, more of the upbringing and some of the things that had happened along the way, both good and bad, that shaped my story. And then, going from that big dream of being a big league ball player all the way to the very rock bottom of an 8x10 cell for 3.5 years in prison, and just kind of how that shaped me and redeemed things moving forward, which is my favorite part of the story, but you can't get to it until you go through the hard stuff, right? And just another like side note to what you said about just knowing and just that one more time. I fought all season long with these youngsters wanting to go party with me. I'm like, no. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I was driving to the field that day, kind of having this conversation with myself going, you know what, maybe tonight, what's one night? And
you're pressuring yourself.
Peer pressure myself, justification, if you do this, whatever. And I remember that small, still voice in me that I believe was the Holy Spirit going, don't do it. Like, don't do it. And then also almost saying like, hey, as a matter of fact, go get some help. Like, speak up that you're going through some stuff, And so ignoring that voice
Uh-huh.
going on my own and going, yeah, one more time. And one of my quotes I remember that comes out right now is, sadly, many addicts' last thought will be just one more time. And that's the last time.
Wow.
Yeah. So the fact that we get to move on and encourage others is really wonderful. And so, yeah, the book's out. The book has led to sharing my story more places, places like here with you.
Yeah.
Essentially what it is I had to, and I bet you can relate to this, I had to really dive in deep on positivity, encouragement, mental self-talk to get through each day in prison. And then I built some skills while there. And then when I got out, I started over from scratch. Anything I'd made in my career went towards trying to stay out of prison or my responsibilities while in. And so it just I needed it more than anybody else, just encouragement, quotes, whatever it was. I was diving in, podcasts, the Bible, prayer, whatever. And so I just kind of took all this and just started trying to encourage other people, whether speaking or social media or whatever. And, some people just started kind of coming alongside of it and encouraging me as well. They're saying, hey, you encourage me so much. And I'm like, I need it more than anybody. And so, it's just that's where the Coach Puff Positive thing came from. And that's my goal every day, is to encourage at least one person. Before I go to the gym, before I go anywhere, I pray and say, just make me be a light wherever I am. And somehow, some way, God still uses the lowly, which is nice.
Yeah, he does.
Led to this redemption story. And man, along the way, it's redemption with my family, redemption in career. Baseball's are still a huge part of my life, which all that guilt and shame told me, never again. You're not worthy of baseball anymore. And I was like, oh yeah. And God's like, just come on, we'll walk it out.
Yes.
And I can restore all this stuff. And so that's what's been going on for the last, I guess 10 years probably or so since I've been out.
And I just love that. I love that because you know what? We get wrapped up in that negative self-talk and, oh, don't put God in a box. Don't you limit this father up here because he's got you. And then you were talking about being in prison and getting through every day. I really feel like this. People don't realize that when you are locked away and, somebody else has got your body, never let them have your mind, that is a time where you don't have anyone else but you.
That's it.
You don't have anyone else to work on but you. And sometimes I used to say this too, like sometimes my only friend was Jesus.
Yes.
And that was the only person I could talk to. And I say now that I was on a missionary trip, because a lot of times people don't need to be there as long as they've been there, but every day we get a little bit better. So while you were in there, you're reading these quotes. Were you thinking, I'm going to get out and write a book? I'm going to do everything I can to, help someone else?
There were times where yes. And I actually didn't just wait till I got out. I literally woke up every day in there and I was like, as you know, there is no riper harvest than folks away from their families in isolation, broken, hurt, maybe in their right mind for the first time in forever. And so I just was like, you know what, Lord, I want to start prison ministry now. And I just
That's right.
Yeah, I just was inside the walls trying to encourage and literally I was that guy, like, I was an SSI janitor, mopping floors, singing praise songs, and people were like, what is wrong with you? And like, once they found out, if they did, that I was a Major League Baseball player, they'd be like, how do you go from there to being happy here? And I was like, well, that's the thing. Happiness is all based on your circumstances. It's like, okay, if you're pitching well, if you've got the right relationship, you're happy. Well, when baseball's gone, the relationship's gone, my happiness is gone. Joy, on the other hand, you can't take it from me. And I found that joy the second they put me behind bars, and I surrendered everything. I was a Christian. I said the prayer, but I surrendered. I was like, okay, every day, every moment, I got to keep doing it. But it's like, here it is. And that was where joy came in. And I always call it
That's powerful.
God-shaped hole inside me was finally filled. And now I was like, it doesn't matter if I'm in here, if I'm doing this, if more or less, whatever, the joy can't go. So that was the difference in the message. And I actually had an opportunity just this past weekend to go back behind bars and speak and baptize some inmates.
Oh, I love that.
I've been praying about it forever. And they had to get some special, just because of my background, some special stuff. And that was my thing. I'm like, I love encouraging people, but guys, I have sat right here and known what it feels like some days to be like, there's no life after this. I don't even know how. I don't even know.
Right.
Like, there is, and here's how, and here's what he's done for me. And so that was really neat. I've really enjoyed that.
I just love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's from the bullpen to the state pen. Yes. And as you're writing this book, do you put in the book anything about sexual abuse?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Let me tell you. So before the show aired, I'm like, get your book so we can show the book. This man stands up. He's tatted up. He's a big guy. So this is the kind of person that you would not expect to admit something like that. But guess what? That's not his burden to bear. That was someone else. And I just love it that you are, an ambassador for people to say you can let go of that pain and you don't have to be in that shame state, because I feel like a lot of this, and I don't know if you would agree, you had, problems with alcohol, that maybe that was fueled by that shame-based behavior, that guilt-based behavior. I know it did it in my part, or excuse me, and what led me to prison was a lot of times I was just so embarrassed and ashamed of my life that I just kept going back to this person that got me in that position.
Yeah, it's what's comfortable. And I do agree with that. Yeah, and again, before I had to peel all those layers back when I had the time, and it was just me, as you said, alone with, my Bible and God and prayer and thought. That's when I realized, hey, these things affected me a lot more than I realized. Before that, it's like, you're an athlete. Like you said, you're big, you're tough, you're whatever. Just stuff that stuff down. And so ironically, which I'm with a group of guys we've been meeting, and a gal who's a psychologist who can put some like really thoughts behind this. Big old dude in the NFL. These 3 or 4 guys are called alphas and aces. And our whole model, we haven't gone out there yet, but we're about to, is just to go out. Yeah, yes, I'm an alcoholic. Yes, all these things. Those are easy to talk about. Mental health. Yeah, I struggle. But like, hey, I've been sexually abused and it really affected me. And so to your point, our whole motto is guys who look like us, who you wouldn't think would be talking about this, going out and giving voice. And I've shared my testimony places, Sarita, and I have said a lot about my whole life. And I've had men, women up to 70 years old come up and go, I've never shared with anybody, but this happened. And I'm like, that's the whole reason, to give you strength and a voice. That's it.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, congratulations. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so proud because I can see the work that he's doing. Tell us all of your social media one more time. And the book is available on Amazon. I would recommend that you go out and get from the bullpen from the bullpen to the state pen, Brandon Puffer.
You nailed it.
That's right. It's a ton.
To answer, I didn't specifically answer your question. Was I thinking about writing a book when I was inside? I felt led to. I kept a journal every single day, and I was like, maybe, I don't know, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it was like, boom! I got your buddies and my buddies involved. Alex, Will, and they put some substance to this thing. So I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but God had it all along. And so yes,
He did.
My website is CoachPuffPositive.com, which leads you to my Twitter, or X, I don't know what we're calling it these days. I'm pretty active on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, all those things. And it's all under Coach Puff Positive. And then, to your point, the website will show you the link to the book. But yeah, you just pop on Amazon, and from the bullpen to the state pen. Pretty simple read. I've had people say, man, I read it in a day or whatever. And I'm like, well, duh, if I wrote it, how could it be very complicated?
Get out of here. Yes. And shout out to Alex Dimchek and shout out to Will Severance. Yes, they're awesome people. Put us in contact with each other. It's all about storytelling, but you know what? We're all believers. We are all believers. And I remember when I first started the show, I would be on other people's show and they're like, oh, you don't want to isolate anyone. I just want you to know that you don't have to feel the same way as me. But when you look at this life, if you don't see what I see, if you don't see what we see, I just want you to keep watching until you do see it. So let me tell you, we want to get a hold of you. We want to get your book. How do we get a hold of you for a speaking event?
Yeah, so same thing. Go to the website, CoachPuffPositive.com. Shoot us a message. There's links on there to, hey, if you need a speaker, if you need an encourager, whatever the case may be, it's all through the website. Yes,
nice. Now, Alphas and Aces, when you're ready to launch, are you going to come back on and tell us about it?
I would love to. What's crazy is it's all been kind of under wraps, and we've been kind of like, guys been put in different relationships. And so that was the first time for me that I publicly was like, can't wait to do Alphas and Aces. I can't wait to get off and text the fellas and be like, hey, I just shared it on a podcast for the first time.
Absolutely. So absolutely. I want to thank Tito Guerrero. He said 100%. He loves it. And I always want to tell, we've got some people who are viewing right now. They're putting in some comments. I don't know if I told you we go live. Okay. Regardless though, you did just fine. Coach Puff Positive. We got to get the book from the bullpen to the state pen. We got to book him to go all over this country and share his message, Alphas and Aces. And as soon as they're ready to go, we're coming right back on and we're telling you all about it. Coach Puff Positive. I'm so glad you came on today and I want to thank you. Tell us something as we go.
Me too. I am so happy. Thank you for the opportunity, Sarita,
Awesome.
for having me on. And I mean, the only thing I would say is just, we talked about surrendering. We talked about
Yes.
decisions. I do want to be super honest and transparent. I'm sure you'd say the same. People ask me this. They literally ask me, do you ever have bad days? I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. Moments, days, whatever.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, my biggest thing, my encouragement for people is wake up every day, find your purpose, ask God, what do you have for me today? And if it's a
Amen.
great day, give praise, be grateful. If it's not your greatest day, just when you lay your head down, go, hey, you know what? Today was a little bit of a struggle, but tomorrow's going to be different. And just never, ever, ever give up hope. That's it. Just
That's
don't.
right.
Do is quit. Don't give up hope.
Well, let me tell you, that's coming from a man that did 3.5 and a woman that did 14.5. Never give up hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate you. Let me tell you, Brandon Puffer, one of my favorite interviews is when I get to talk to people who have done it like I have, and we have come out on top. Triumph over adversity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's
Thanks
see
for having
here.
me.
Hold on. I'm back. Okay. It took a while to end the stream, and I guess what? We're still streaming. We are still streaming.
We
Hey.
never